up, guys? Welcome back to another video. So in the last video I told you I'm still having problems with this car getting it started, so it's getting pretty frustrated, so I decided to take a break and kind of just mess around with the other car. So I ended up taking this car out and just doing some spirited driving around some turns, and I ended up over revving the engine, downshifting around a turn, and spun a bearing. So basically I have two non-running Integras right now, but this car's wiring doesn't have a problem, so it's going to be easy to get it back up and running again. So I already picked up a motor and I'll show you guys what I have. So this is the motor that I picked up for the car. It's a b20B, high compression, has the knock sensor on the back. I picked it up from this place right here. It's local to me. Really cool guys over there. If you need anything, either visit their shop or hit them up. They have a lot of Honda bolt-on stuff like ARC intakes, factory strut bars, seats, front end conversions, a boatload of motors, K and B series. So right now I'm just draining the oil out of this motor. So I already tore apart the whole side here, got the intake manifold off. I took this off because I had a timing belt and water pump warranty when I bought the one for the LS at AutoZone. So I pretty much just took this one off and sanded the markings off the timing belt and returned that as my warranty part, free timing belt. So some accessories that I got for this motor, because I could just throw it in just how it is, just slap a timing belt on it, but I want to upgrade a little bit from what I have in the car now, because I'm still going to be using the Victor X manifold and that BZ replica header and a coil conversion on that car. But I also picked up a Moroso 5-quart oil pan with the little hinges inside, if you can see them moving. I have the Felt Pro gasket that I've used in all my videos. That's rubber, copper rubber. I have a new cam seal, triple cam seal. Have a Michimoto fan switch and thermostat, new thermostat gasket, valve cover gasket, ACL high volume oil pump. Picked up Brian Crowder stage 2 cams. They're the, I don't know if you could see it, but it's BC0022. I also have an old unorthodox racing alternator pulley. I'm just going to slap this on. It's lighter than stock. New plugs, Speed Factory detent springs, cam seals, oil pump seal, because I'm not sure if that ACL one comes with one. I have Super Tech valve keepers, the retainers right here, the valve springs, transmission axle seals. I have these Super Tech valve seals here, water pump gasket, the timing belt kit, and the icing on the cake is going to be this transmission. It's an Integra Type R transmission. Came from a 2000 Integra Type R, so it's got the better final drive. So right now I'm just going to start assembling this motor. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. So I'm draining the oil right now. So next we're just going to unbolt the oil pan and drop that, so we can get this oil pump taken care of first. So once I pull off the oil pan, I'll show you how to take the pickup off and stuff like that. So I have the oil pan dropped. Here's the oil pickup. There's 4 10mm bolts, 2 nuts, 2 bolts. The nuts went here and here, and the bolts went on this side here and here. Don't forget to remove the gasket, which is right here. Oil pump, there's a 12mm here, one here, a 10 here, 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 and here. And then this thing, I just tap this corner with a mallet, and then it loosened up, and then you slide it off. If you look at the crank, there's flat spots where you have to line the oil pump up with. So right now I'm just going to clean this surface area all the way around here, and I'm going to do the water pump at the same time. That way I can put a layer RTV all the way around. On the oil pump, this ACL one did come with the crankshaft gasket, and it came with the oil pump gasket that's going to go right here, and then it came with a new pickup gasket. So I'm going to clean this, apply a layer RTV, and then slide that back on. I'm also going to do the water pump. Before I put the pickup back on, I'm going to spray it out with RTV to make sure there's no particulates in there from whoever owned this motor before me in Japan. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then we'll pick up from there. So the oil pump's on. I did notice one thing that's a little bit different about this. It has these two, one's a threaded hole and it looks like some kind of tensioner. I guess this is because it can go into some other engines. It also has a different mounting point here if you look at the stock one that came off of this. But that shouldn't be a problem. I did look down in the thread to make sure it didn't go straight through because I don't want any leaks. So I put the oil pickup back on. These bolts here are 97 inch-pounds. If you convert it, that's 8 foot-pounds. The 12s are 17 foot-pounds. These are 97 also, or 8 foot-pounds. And I'll put the water pump bolts on at 97 inch-pounds also. And then I threw on this unorthodox racing alternator pulley. It's quite lighter than the OEM unit that came off of it. It's about a quarter of the weight, and it's the diameter's a tad bit smaller. I don't think that'll make much of a difference, but whatever. Anything that's lighter is more than likely better, especially on the rotating assembly. So next up, I'm just going to throw the oil pan back on. I'm not going to put the Moroso one back on, or the new oil pan on yet, because I have to take this engine down the steps. So that little wooden thing that I made to sit the engine in so I could put it on a dolly to take it down steps, it's not going to fit because that Moroso oil pan has that kick out sump. So I'm just going to throw this back on with probably only like 3 or 4 of the bolts just to hold it on there, and then we'll move on. I have to pull this post mount off the GSR block I have sitting over there, so I'm going to do that real quick, put that on, and then I guess we'll move around and get the thermostat and the fan switch installed, and then I guess we'll start moving to the head after that. Alright, so I got the T-bracket on, and I got the fan switch. It's 80 degrees Celsius, and I have the thermostat in. The thermostat that came out of here was 78 Celsius. The one that I put in was a 68, so it should help with cooling for when I get to the track, hopefully in the next couple weeks. But it's so hot out here. It's 88 degrees right now, but it's super humid. So I pulled all the cam caps off and the 2 cams out, and rockers. I have them all sitting right here. Exhaust side, intake side. So right now I'm gonna have to get the valve springs out to switch those out, and how I'm gonna do that is I gotta remove the spark plug and put a long screwdriver down there, turn the crank until the piston goes down, then fill the cylinder up with some rope, then crank it back so it crushes the rope inside the cylinder. So once I undo these valve springs and retainers, the valve doesn't fall into the cylinder. I watched a video Garage Built Hondas did on how to install these cams, so this is where I'm getting the ideals from. So I picked up this K-motor tool. It says it's for Mitsubishi motor, but it does fit this Honda. As you can see, it has really big slotted holes here and here, so you would just put those, I guess, like that, and you can kind of see that lines up there, that lines up there, that one lines up there, that lines up there. So this should work pretty good, and it came with a little cup and some bolts and washers. So I don't remember how much this was, but it is not as cheap as the VTech one. I think this one was probably like 60 or 80 bucks. But it's always good to have your own tools. Now if anybody needs to borrow it that I know, I could either let them borrow it or charge them to do it. So I'm gonna pull out one of the spark plugs, try to get the cylinder filled up with the rope, and then I'll show you where I'm at after that. Alright, so I didn't mention that I'm gonna link the garage built Honda's head assembly for this motor, just so you can get a better idea, because I know I'm not the best at explaining anything. So I had the cylinder all the way down. I just used a long screwdriver to see the position of the cylinder. So when it was all the way down, I started feeding rope in there, and at one point it wouldn't feed in, so I just stuffed it down in the spark plug well, and I used this long screwdriver to kind of push it down in there. And then I just turned the motor until it came up to the top, and then I just put the valve spring tool on there, compressed it, and pulled out the valve. But if you look at it, I ain't do that good of a job, because I compressed this valve down, move it a little bit, but it's not going all the way down, so that's good. Also pulled the valve stem out, the seal. Here's the old one. I just used some 45 needle nose pliers, twisted it back and forth as I was pulling, popped right out. I didn't have to add any heat like I did when I took out the GSR head. I just slid it back on. I use a 1/4 inch drive 3/8 socket. It fits perfectly around there. And then I just took a rubber mallet and tapped it ever so slightly, just until it went flush against the bottom. You can see where it seats. So now I'm gonna put one of the dual valve springs on here and the retainer, and then I'm gonna try to line up the Super Tech keepers on here. So I have 2 valve springs and retainers and 2 of the valve seals already installed. So one thing I can suggest is, when you're doing this, if you're doing it with the head on the engine and you're trying not to lose anything, I just stuck a blue towel down in the oil galley, same as down here. I just stuck a blue towel, so that way if for some reason when I loosen this up a valve spring does go flying, I don't want it to go down there and have to take apart the whole engine. So I'm going to keep moving along. I'm going to do the 2 intake sides now. Sorry for the air conditioning noise. It's 90 degrees. But I'm just going to keep moving along. Next clip, I'll show you, probably have them all done. Alright, so it's getting kind of late. This took a little bit longer than I felt it should have took. The valve seals were being a pain to come out, and I really didn't want to use heat because I didn't want to ignite the oil, if that would have even happened or not. So that took a little bit of time. And also fooling with those retainer lock things, the little things that slide down in the retainer to hold the spring down, those took a really long time. But anyway, I got this done. I'll still have to do a valve adjustment tomorrow. Cam caps are torqued down. These are 7.2 foot-pounds, or like, I think it's 97 inch-pounds or something like that. So that's all, both sides. The cam gears are on. These are just some OEM ones. These are 41 foot-pounds. So I really wanted to have this done tonight, but I only have so much time. But so tomorrow I'm just gonna throw the timing belt on real quick, do the valve adjustment, slap the valve cover on, and then we should be good to go. I also have to pull the seals out of the transmission and put the Speed Factory detent springs in there. But we're making some progress. I really wanted to just get ready to swap the car tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. Alright, so from the last clip, I already got the timing belt on, got this in time, alternator belt is on, crank pulley is back on. I went ahead and adjusted the valves. So basically, to do this, there's plenty of videos on YouTube. You want to have the lobe facing up, and I'll post the specs for these cams here. But basically, these are 0.010, so you want to make sure you can fit this in here. You want to crack this 12mm loose, and you're going to adjust it till you have slight drag, and then hold the flathead screwdriver in here and tighten that back up. Then once I do that, I usually take the next size up, which will be 0.011, and see if that can fit in there. and if it can fit in there, you need to readjust it because it's too big. So right now I'm just going to get this valve cover gasket on and the spark plugs in, and we're pretty much going to be done for this video. I'm going to take some gasket remover and clean up all this intake manifold gasket. These paper gaskets are the worst, but I want to get that cleaned up, and that's going to be about it. Alright, so I didn't know that there was transmission fluid in here, so it spilled all over the place. But anyway, to put these Speed Factory detent springs in, it's just 12 here, 12 here. Take the bolt out, it'll have a little spring on it. Make sure you don't lose that little BB inside. Just swap out the spring. And then I'm going to change these axle seals. Pretty easy, just pop that one out and pop the new one in. Pretty simple. So the Type R trans is ready to go. I got the valve cover on. It took so long to clean this gasket off. I ended up having to use these kind of like sanding pads. They're not really too gritty, so they didn't dig into the metal or whatever. But it took like 2 hours to get that gasket off and get those studs out. I tried some CRC gasket remover. This a waste of money. Alright, so that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. Next video is probably going to be me throwing the engine in the car. I'm not sure how much I'm going to film of that because I just kind of want to breeze through it. But if you have any questions about anything I've done today, or you need part numbers or anything, feel free to let me know and I'll get back to you. But until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.